It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. So that makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And good morning. Welcome to the Garden Guide as we are coming to you live from the Home and Garden Show at the Eccles Ice Arena. Beautiful Saturday morning. And I couldn't even see a cloud in the sky, Mark.
I was going to say, are you sure about that, Will?
It was just a beautiful morning. I was out on an early morning walk and just a gorgeous start to the day. And, I had a little time yesterday afternoon before the Aggie game, Mark, and I went up into the mountains and the spring flowers are already starting to pop up. And then walking around my neighborhood early this morning, a couple fruit trees already
starting to bloom. I saw some blooming yesterday. I was like, okay, it's a little bit early, 2 weeks.
It is early.
2 weeks early, but we'll make it work.
Yeah. Spring is definitely here.
There's a lot of people that get concerned when the trees bloom a little bit early, and it's when we have a frost during bloom period that can damage some blossoms. But if they bloom and the bees are out, and somebody was in yesterday and they're just like, oh, the bees are just like all over my trees. They're just like going crazy. There's so much pollen out there, so that's a good thing. But if they pollinate and then we get a light frost, it really won't do any damage. It's if we get into the teens that it could damage some of the fruit that has set. So, but it's going to take a couple of weeks for the fruit to set. I mean, a lot of trees still aren't blooming yet, so we're maybe starting to see some apricots pop in and maybe a few pears.
Yeah. I saw a peach tree this morning, and so a lot to talk about. Definitely we are in spring. And, we're also coming to you live from the Home and Garden Show. This is a tradition that goes back several years, and the Home and Garden Show actually has gone on for over a decade.
I don't ever remember the Aggies winning during the Home and Garden Show, though. This is the first time.
Definitely celebrating. It was a great day yesterday, for sure, and just got the tip time, by the way, if you haven't heard yet. Just to jump off track for a second, Aggies will tip tomorrow night, 5:50 our time.
5:50?
5:50.
Nice.
Yep. So, it's time to start talking about spring planting because we are definitely in spring, whether it feels like it or not. Yesterday was the first day of spring. And it felt almost more like summer.
It was an amazing day outside. I'll tell you, it was a little chilly inside the Home and Garden Show, but if we needed to thaw out, we'd just walk outside for a minute, and it felt so good. And we've had warm Marches before, so this isn't unusual. There have been many years where we had such great weather early. Like I got my peas planted in February before, so my soil's been really wet though. So this week I was hoping to till, but we've been so busy, haven't been able to do it. But peas and spinach, lettuce, radishes, onions, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, kale, those could all go in like today if you want to get out there and do some planting. We're low on onion plants right now, but my next shipment just shipped yesterday, so it should be here Monday or Tuesday.
Oh, great.
So we've got onions coming back in. And the reason we ran out of onions this week is because they had so much rain in Texas that we couldn't get a shipment in early this week. We should have got a shipment in on Monday or Tuesday of this week, but because it was so wet, they couldn't dig the onions, and so they had to push it. They had to push it back almost a week to ship, and so they should show up, I would suspect, on Tuesday for sure. And then I got another shipment coming like right behind those, and so we should be well stocked all of next week. So if the weather's good next week, come in and get onion plants because they're going to be like fresh and green and really, really nice, ready to be planted. And then almost all of our small fruits are in. So raspberries are in, strawberries are in, currants, gooseberries, blackberries, blueberries. They're all here. And ready to be planted. Asparagus just showed up this week, so we've got some gorgeous asparagus roots. They look really nice. I've got purple and green asparagus.
Oh,
if you've never tried the purple ones, they're really, really good. Yeah, they're awesome. So the purple asparagus, great. I think they're $15.99 for a bundle of 15, so they're about $1 a piece, which is not bad. They're 2-year-old roots. And so with the 2-year-old roots of the asparagus, you can plant those this year, and you can start harvesting next year.
Okay.
So you won't be able to harvest them this year. Just going to let them get established and get going. And of course, we'd recommend use the Bigfoot on those.
It works. It really works.
Yeah, I've got samples of the Bigfoot out here. So yeah, we got some Bigfoot out here. But great for the asparagus. It would do amazing. And then you could start harvesting next year. We usually tell people, don't harvest anything that's smaller than like the diameter of your pinky. Yeah, we don't want to get them too small because it can damage the roots. We have a selection of fruit trees still, but I have another big shipment coming in. Like we expect it any day. In fact, I was hoping it would be here earlier this week, and we did get pears in. So the pears, we were fortunate to find pears because both of our pear orders got canceled from our growers because pears are a little scarce this year.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I don't know if they had a crop failure, if they had really bad fire blight, or what happened, but we got 0 pears from our 2 confirmed orders this year. But I was able to find another grower in Oregon. We got about 120 pears in, which is outstanding. Yeah, we figured go from 0 to 120 was like amazing.
Yeah, we'll take it.
We'll take it. So I got a great selection of pears right now. We're starting to run low on some peaches, but when that next shipment comes in, I'll have another 12 varieties of peaches. We've got more cherries coming. Got a whole bunch of apples and plums and nectarines and apricots. So we'll have those all bear root for probably another 2 weeks. If the weather stays really nice and they start to leaf out, then we'll have to pot those up. Okay. But when those trees come in, I got my fingers crossed, it's like early next week, then we'll be able to sell those until they start to leaf out. So we should have a couple weeks. But a great selection of those coming in as well, too. Just got potatoes in from Idaho yesterday, so we've got like a little bit of everything. So we've got Huckleberry Gold, and we've got Viking, which is a purple potato, but it's white on the inside, but it's got a purple skin. It's really, really good. So between the purple Viking and the Huckleberry Gold, those are like 2 of my very, very favorite varieties of potatoes. They're outstanding. Got more Yukon Gold in. We've got Pontiac, Norland. What else have we got for some interesting ones? Got some Idaho russets. And we'll have some fingerlings coming in. So we should have some fingerling potatoes hopefully next week. A couple different varieties of fingerlings. So it's nice when that big batch of potatoes comes in. That's when it smells like spring in the store. It looks like spring outside, but when the potatoes come, then it smells like spring inside. That's like my harbinger of spring is when that big shipment of potatoes comes. I remember as a child going with my dad in his old like 50s Chevy truck, and we would go up to it's kind of up by Rudy's greenhouse, but there was a potato cellar up there. There's houses there now, but there was a potato cellar up there. And that's where we would get all of our potatoes for the year, and we would store them in that cellar. And then a couple times a week, Dad would go up with the truck, and we'd just grab potatoes and bring them down to the store. So I was little. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, and I just have this memory of going up to the potato cellar, grabbing those 100-pound bags of potatoes, because they weren't in 50s. They were in hundreds. Yeah, so they were 100-pound bags, burlap sacks, and we'd wrestle those into the truck, and then we bring them down to the store, and that's, to me, that's spring.
You remember that?
That's spring. Yeah, that's cool absolutely memory. Spring. So it is. It's a good memory.
Well, we are coming to you live from the Home and Garden Show, but we are also taking calls as Dallin, our studio engineer, is back in the studio screening all the phone calls for us, and we do have a caller on the line. Zach is joining us from Wellsville, and Zach, are you there? Can you hear us, Zach? There you go.
There we go.
Hey, now I can hear you. For some reason, it wasn't working quite the way it usually does today. I wasn't hearing you.
Let's
Are you there,
see.
Will?
I don't think we're hearing Zach.
Are you hearing me, Will? Mark?
We can hear you.
There we go.
All right. Hey, just getting excited for a Saturday out here. Probably going to prune my trees and get my roses the rest of the way done today. But I did have one question. We're noticing a ton of leaf hoppers that have overwintered on our blackberries. I want to make sure I take care of that as soon as I can. Any advice for me?
Okay, leaf hoppers. You said leaf hoppers on your blackberries, correct?
Yep, leaf hoppers on blackberries. Usually don't see them this early, but it seems they're all over.
No, and there's mosquitoes out already, believe it or not. We had a whole bunch of mosquitoes showing up at our house last night, which is very, very premature for those. But for the leaf hoppers on your blackberries, since there's no blossoms on the blackberries yet, you can use a wide variety of different insecticides. So permethrin would be excellent for your leaf hoppers. The 7 would be great. The new Bug Blaster Lambda would be sensational. If you want to go with the organic product, you could do Triple Action or the Fruit Tree Spray from Fertilome. Those would be sensational. And I would do one light spray and then maybe wait about a week and then do another one. And if you wanted to put a little bit of dormant or horticultural oil in there, that'll help control the eggs. So it'll kill all the eggs at the ovicide, so it'll suffocate the eggs so you don't have a whole other batch of them hatching right after you spray and kill off all the ones that are active right now.
Oh, awesome. So mix in just a little dormant oil, too, to just make sure we're getting all the eggs.
Phone call, Zach. And we do have phone lines open at 753-KBNU. That's 753-5868 if you have a question or comment for Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. As we're coming to you live from the Home and Garden Show. You meant
a lot of bugs.
Yeah.
So it's very timely that Zach called in because there's just a ton of bugs. And like I said, mosquitoes are showing up. I had multiple people grab me at the Home and Garden Show yesterday. They're like, I've got box elder bugs like crazy already, and even stink bugs that seem like they've been active all winter long. Stink bugs have been coming in. So that new product from High Yield, the Bug Blaster Lambda, excellent product because you can use it on edibles, but you can also use it on ornamentals and turf, and it's very, very effective around the house as well too. So it's great for spiders and ants and earwigs and creepy crawlies around the house, but it's also safe and mild enough to use on edibles like Zach's blackberries or raspberries if you start to see those. Or you got mosquitoes hatching like crazy out in your lawn, you can spray your lawn with it. Spray it in the evening, give it enough time to dry, then the next day kids can go back out there and play. Yeah, because it's such a mild insecticide. This is one that you don't want to get into while it's wet, but after it dries, you won't even know that it's there, and it'll be doing its job, taking care of the bugs that we really don't want to deal with right now while we're enjoying the great weather outside, because it's probably going to snow next week. It's like before April, we're gonna get another storm probably on the horizon.
We have seen it happen in the past, and we even noticed that we're starting to see some wasps around.
Yeah,
and you're thinking, middle of March.
Since we had such a mild winter, we could have a lot of insects this year.
Yeah, because none of them got killed.
Winter usually kills a lot of those insects off or kills the eggs, and we did have a very mild winter, and they're all going to hatch like crazy. They're all going to hatch. So be prepared for a lot of insects this year, and if we don't have them, then we can celebrate.
Yeah. But already, I think it's sounding like I know the Mosquito Abatement District has already been on the alert.
Actually talked to them yesterday.
Yeah. It's starting.
Sounds like they might have some job openings if anybody's interested.
We're going to be doing a lot of fogging.
Yeah. So he was saying, we've got some job openings. If you know anybody, so shoo them my way.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned earlier that there's a lot going on at the store, and of course, that's where you're going to find all of your bare roots and your plants that are ready to go in, and onions that are coming in, and asparagus. But I noticed here at the store, here at the Home and Garden Show, you brought a lot of pansies. You've brought a lot of flowers that people can plant.
So flowers for right now, primroses and pansies, they can go out. In fact, we just planted this week. We had some amazing help from the Rotary Club, and we had some help from Parks and Rec from Logan City. We planted 1,000 pansies on Center Street in an hour. I think that's a Guinness Book of World Records. 1,000 pansies in an hour on Center Street. And it looks awesome. It looks really, really great. And so pansies can go out right now. So pansies and primroses, even if it freezes, if it snows, they're good to go. What we're recommending is if you've got a sunny location, they can go in that sunny location like right now. And they'll be super colorful for the next couple of months. But by the 1st of June, you want to move them from that sunny location and put them in a shady location, and then they'll continue to bloom throughout the summertime. If they stay in that sunny location, it gets too hot and they'll burn up. Yeah, they'll burn up. So on Center Street, we plant the pansies as early as we can get out there and get them planted. But by the 1st of June, we're digging those up and we're moving them to a shadier spot. Okay. And then we put different annual flowers on Center Street. So you can do the same thing and really enjoy that early spring color. I mean, the purples and the yellows and the whites are, they're really vibrant right now. Yeah, it looks really, really good. But by June, you want to dig those up, put them in a shady location, a shady flower bed. Put them where your hostas and your ferns and stuff are, or your hydrangeas, and then it'll add some extra color, and they'll continue to bloom all summer long for you. And so they're really resilient. The primroses are really resilient right now, and they're kind of tender perennials. A lot of times they can winter over as well and keep those going, but they don't bloom as long as the pansies do. Okay. So you won't get as much flower out of those. But then here at the show, we've got some Helleborus, and they are blooming right now. They look amazing. So this is a perennial it's kind of a semi-evergreen, so they don't drop their leaves in the wintertime. So they'll keep their leaves through the wintertime. And then they're one of the earliest bloomers. So they're not blooming quite yet in people's yards, but usually by the end of March, they're blooming in people's yards. And they have the most resilient flowers of any perennials. Like most perennials only bloom for 2 or 3 weeks, and then they're done. Yeah. Helleborus, they bloom for 6 to 8 weeks. And they love the cooler temperature. So the cooler it is, the longer the blossoms last. So you could get almost 2 months of flowers out of them. And then the rest of the year, they're just a gorgeous kind of leathery evergreen leaf. And so you'll get that nice green color out of them for the entire summer, but you get that really long bloom period. So I've got some whites and some greens and some kind of pinks and burgundy flowers here. And you plant those shady location again. They need to be in a shady spot, but they'll bloom almost for the next 2 months. Oh wow! Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So amazing plants. And I've got some evergreens, and I've got some forsythia that are in bloom, and I've got a few some flowering plum that look really good. But some of our trees at the store at Anderson's are starting to bloom, so you can kind of see what they look like. So they're coming on a little bit early as well, and everything's just like popping into shape really quick at Anderson. So shrubs coming in. So we've got a nice selection of evergreens that we got in this week. And then next week we've got about 300 to 400 deciduous and evergreen shrubs coming. And then the first week of April, we've got another shipment of 300 to 400 shrubs coming in. So we'll have the nursery up and running here in the next 7 to 10 days. We'll have a bunch of stuff out there. And all of our flowering and shade trees, we've got most of those in right now. We've got a little bit more coming, but most of those are in or will be showing up in the next week or so.
And about the only thing you got to worry about with pansies and some of those flowers are the deer.
Is the deer, yeah.
Because
I was going to say
if
the deer.
you put them in right now, keep in mind the deer, they haven't left.
Yeah, they are delicious, by the way. The pansies are quite tasty.
Love.
Yeah, so they're on my list of edible flowers.
Yeah.
And so, pansies, very beautiful, but also delicious.
Yeah.
So the deer think they're delicious as well. And I'm seeing daffodils popping up. So I've got little miniature daffodils blooming like crazy in my yard. And also not unusual for them to bloom a little bit before Easter. So they're fine, but there's a few early tulips that are coming along. So make sure you protect your tulips because the deer will eat them, and they'll eat them before they bloom. And so they like the leaves as well as the flower buds, but they'll eat the flower buds first. And so make sure you get a deer repellent on there, or get a net over them, or fence them, or something. So with all the construction going on in front of my house, I did not plant tulips this year because there's actually 3 giant piles of gravel and road base in front of my garden. So nobody would see them. But since my is now permanently fenced, which I did last year, keeping the deer out. It keeps the deer out, like amazing. I had no infiltration last year from the deer, and so I'm saving a spot just for tulips, and I'm going to put 1,000 tulips right in that front spot of the garden, and it's going to look amazing next year.
And you'll come out in the morning, you'll see deer on the other side of the fence. They're just going to be licking their chops.
They're going to be licking their lips
because they
won't be able to get in there. No, it's an 8-foot fence. They're not getting into my garden. And plan on an awesome show of tulips at Anderson's Garden next year. 1,000 tulips. They're going in. And I'm planting them with the backhoe that's in front of my house right now. It's a giant track hoe.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It's massive. So right there on Canyon Road, we're experiencing a little construction this summer, just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
Well, let's go back out to the phone lines before our bottom of the hour break. We have Jeremy joining us on the line from Hiram. And Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. How's everyone doing this morning?
And Jeremy, can you hear? Okay, go ahead.
You hear me well? My question's on bleeding heart. But
bleeding heart.
In a new spot, and these ones that are coming in are all green. The ones I've had are usually come in maroon. I was curious if they're doing well or if I've mistaken them.
Bleeding hearts are an early bloomer, and it's also not unusual for those to come up like first thing, like as soon as the snow melts. And so they'll pop up. And I've never really had the deer damage my bleeding hearts early, so you should be okay there. When they start coming up and they get 4 to 6 inches tall, a great time to fertilize those. So you could use a nice slow release fertilizer on those. One you'd use on perennials, so something like Start and Grow from Fertilome, or maybe the Rose and Flower Food from Green Grow if you want to do an organic one. But that'll feed them as they're starting to produce flowers. And they are early bloomers, and so once they're done blooming, you can cut the flower stems down, but leave kind of the leaves up for a while. But usually by middle part, end of June, mine are dying down, and so you can trim those down to the ground after they start to die down, and just kind of get rid of that older growth, and then next year they'll come up brand new again. So they're very resilient. Every year I have gardeners that come in that have never done bleeding hearts, and they think their plants are dying because they start looking bad after they're done blooming. But that's kind of normal for them. When it gets hot, they like it a little bit shadier. They like a little bit cooler. They'll start dying back, and it's okay to trim those down after that. So. That works.
That answered the call. So phone lines are open at 753-5868. If you have a question or comment for Mark, we've got our bottom of the hour news break, and then we're going to be coming right back talking about the Home and Garden Show here. A lot going on, and we'll give you a preview of what to expect as you're coming down to the Home and Garden Show this weekend. Again, it's going to be open. The doors will be opening coming up here in about a half hour. It starts at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Continues until 6.
We had a great stream of people.
A lot of people yesterday.
Yeah, a lot of people in yesterday, and a lot of great booths. A lot of really good booths. Ours is the most colorful. And it smells the best.
And he's not just saying that because he's biased either.
I am a little biased, but we do have the best smells and the best color here. So.
And there's a lot for the whole family to enjoy here. So we'll give you a preview of that coming up next as we're broadcasting live from the Home and Garden Show at the Eccles Ice Arena with Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden.
With your local headlines here at the bottom of the hour, I'm Will Feelright. Well, a former Utah pediatrician currently serving a prison sentence for the murder of his ex-wife is now facing new charges for the alleged sexual abuse of a child patient. Now, Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill announced that Johnny Brickman Wall, a 62-year-old, is charged with 3 counts of first-degree felony aggravated sexual abuse of a child. Now, prosecutors allege the Wall abused the victim during medical examinations in September 2011 and also February 2012 when she was 7 and 8 years of age. Now, Wall remains in custody at the Utah Correctional Facility. In 2015, he was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison for the 2011 murder of his ex-wife. Now, investigators found her dead in a bathtub with cuts and high doses of Xanax in her system following a struggle. And Utah Governor Spencer Cox will release a book on political depolarization coming up this fall, just days before the 1-year anniversary of conservative activist Charlie Kirk's assassination at Utah Valley University. Now, Penguin Press announced the book will be called Off Ramp: How to Be a Peacemaker in an Age of Contempt. Now, it's expected to be published on September 8th. Cox said he feels the nation's political bitterness is slowly waning, citing a growing desire for normalcy and community engagement. Now, he also reiterated that he has no plans to run for president. Now, also this past week, Cox addressed Senator Mike Lee's Save America Act, which mandates proof of citizenship and photo ID for voters. Now, while Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson had criticized the bill's logistical hurdles, Cox supported the legislation's intent. Clear skies and warm temperatures continuing through the rest of the weekend. I'm Will Feelright for KVNU News.
I'm Jim Bass. Well, the finish to regulation for Kentucky Santa Clara is what March Madness is all about.
Gavaluga up high right wing, works top of the arc, throws to Graves, right wing 3 for the lead. It is good! 2.4 seconds. So Sedek won a timeout. Kentucky the other way. Owe for the tie. Breaks it in for 35 feet. Otega always saves the day for Kentucky. He banks it in from 35.
That's the Westwood One NCAA Radio Network. Allen Grace followed by Otega Owe back-to-back. Owe from 35 feet out. Banks home the 3, forces overtime. 7-seeded Wildcats beat the 10-seed Santa Clara 89-84. Owe finished with 35 points. Braden Smith scored 26, became the Division I career leader in assists, leading Purdue past Queens University 104-71. And Terrace Reed Jr., 31 points, 27 rebounds, and UConn's 82-71 win over Furman. Florida began its national title defense with the second largest margin of victory in the NCAA tournament, pounding Prairie View A&M 114-55. On the women's side, 2-seed LSU rolled 15-seed Jacksonville 116-55. They scored 100 or more for the 15th time this season. NBA Kevin Durant 25 as the Rockets snapped the Hawks 11-game winning streak, 117-95. Jalen Duren 23. Pistons beat the Wizards 115-101. Dennis Jenkins starting for Cade Cunningham, 22 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds for the winners. Jaylen Brown 30. Celtics over the Grizz 117-112. Karl Anthony Towns 26 points, 15 rebounds. Knicks outlast the Nets 93-92. NHL Nate McKinnon 3 assists. Colorado 4-1 over the Blackhawks. They become the first team in the league to clinch a playoff spot, move 4 points clear of Dallas for the top spot in the Western Conference.
Yeah, it's cold, but winter is no excuse to let that junk vehicle sit around another month. DD Auto and Salvage in Logan is paying top dollar right now for junk cars and scrap metal, and they'll even pick it up. And here's the big news. With Box Elder County's salvage yard gone, DD Auto proudly serves Brigham City to Malad and beyond. With the Valley View Highway complete, it's an easy drive, or just let DD Auto and Salvage come to you. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204. DD Auto and Salvage, turning winter junk into serious cash.
From gardening to landscaping, it's the Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
And we welcome you back to the Garden Guide on this beautiful Saturday morning as we're coming to you live from the Home and Garden Show at the Eccles Ice Arena. The show gets underway in about 25 minutes. The doors will be open happening. A lot of the vendors showing up now and getting everything set up.
I noticed they just turned the lights on.
Lights are on. Yeah.
We're doing it in the dark here before. No power.
No power and no lights at first. But, hey, the show always has to go on, and hey, we're okay with that. We can always make things work.
We won't let anybody know where we stole the power from. So
this will start at 9 o'clock, and it's going to continue till 6. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of activities for the whole family. Now, cost is just $2 for adults 13 and older. 13 and younger get in for free. There's a kids area. There's bounce houses. There's playgrounds for the kids to be able to.
A couple
enjoy.
food trucks too.
Yeah,
food trucks.
Yeah, a lot of food trucks and food vendors. And thanks to one of our vendors who brought in a big screen TV yesterday, so some of us
got to watch
enjoy
the
the game.
Yeah, we got to watch a little of the game.
And we'll have the games going on again today. And, of course, looking forward to the Aggie game tomorrow. They'll be tipping off against Arizona. And if you didn't hear, that game tips at 5:50.
You know, if the Aggies win, I think I'm going to send an email to the mayor and see if we can have a celebration in Logan for the first time ever in the Sweet 16. What do you think?
Well, if you can sweet talk him better than the rest of us can, we'll all be there. Absolutely. Yeah,
we just might have to celebrate that a little special. So
that will be definitely something to celebrate.
Outstanding.
So we hope you come down and enjoy us, enjoy the show here at the Eccles Ice Arena. The Home and Garden Show has been going on for decades now. Over 100 businesses. Of course, there's free parking, and you've got Main Street access. You can just turn right at Heritage Dodge and then come right back to the Ice Arena.
I remember when you first started, it was up at the ballroom at USU.
Yeah, and then we moved to the field house.
Yeah, then the field house.
Yep, and
I actually really liked it in the ballroom.
We really enjoyed it up there, but the parking
was so difficult. Yeah,
so
difficult. Yeah,
and plus we had to do it around spring break, and spring break was always kind of a little tricky to work around with the college, and so eventually we had to move, and we've loved being here in the Eccles Ice Arena. They're just so great to work with, and when temperatures are 80 degrees outside.
It feels really good.
Really nice.
It feels really good inside. I remember last year it was like freezing cold outside, and so it was extra cold inside.
Yeah, so if you're just looking for a way to be able to escape those hot temperatures this weekend, hey, come on down to the Eccles Ice Arena for the Home and Garden Show. It continues until 6 o'clock tonight. So we were talking earlier, Mark, about spring planting, and you mentioned a lot of plants have started coming in. Bare root are here.
Yeah,
got a lot of your fruit trees, and more are coming.
Right. So the bare root sale's going on right now. So all of our bare root plants are on sale, and it's about 30 to 35% off the potted price. So that's blueberries and blackberries and raspberries and strawberries. We've got all those berries, currants, gooseberries. I think we've got a few honeyberries. My order on honeyberries got cut by about 20. Well, we only got about 20% of what we ordered, which is like really disappointing. So I'm trying to find some more. It's kind of like our pears got axed, and we were able to find some more pears. So I'm hoping to find some more honeyberries. But the bare root sale's going on. I've got potatoes coming in. Actually, they came in yesterday, so good selection of potatoes. Onion plants restocking should be there on Monday or Tuesday. Tuesday, probably at the latest, we'll have the onion plants back in. So Walla Walla onion, Big Daddy, Dolce Grande. What else? We've got Red Wing, and we've got Red Candy, and we've got Candy, and then I've got some Patterson too. So if you've never grown Patterson before, Patterson is one of the longest storage onions ever, and so they will keep 8 to 12 months. So I've actually
take them out
once you harvest them. So I've actually harvested them in August before and had them keep until almost July. The next July, like 8 to 10 months, they will store for that long if you prepare them properly. So this is a really good onion. They'll grow large, but they keep like the best of all onions. So I'll have some more Pattersons coming in as well too. So if you want to try a long storage onion, do Patterson. If you want a really mild onion, do Walla Walla, but they don't keep very well. They only keep for like a month. So you want to use those as they're available. But if you want kind of the best of both worlds, then do the Candy or the Big Daddy, because they'll both keep pretty well, 3 to 6 months, but they're really mild, and the flavor's amazing. And the Dolce Grande keep really well too. That's like a 4 to 5 month keeper, but the flavor's just outstanding on the Dolce Grande. It's one of my all-time favorite onions. So good.
Now there's a new onion that I've started to see popping up.
Smiley, yeah. I've seen some billboards.
Yeah,
and that is not a variety I'm familiar with.
No, and in fact, I had never even heard about it until I came across the news story on it, and turns out it's a Utah product.
Yeah, it is.
And a Smiley onion. Now they claim that it's easier on the eyes when it comes time to cut them and fry them. But I have not heard what the taste.
We found the ski goggles or the swim goggles work really, really well.
And I've also heard if you just grab a stick of gum, and chew on a stick of gum,
kind of mellow that out a little bit.
Although I tried it and it didn't really help.
Yeah. So not only do we have the bare root plants and the onions that we were just discussing, but we've got a bunch of 5-gallon flowering and shade trees that are also on sale. And so it's hard for us to do shade trees and flowering trees bare roots. They're really hard for us to handle. I just don't have the space or the manpower to do it. So we have contracted with one of our growers in Washington, and they grow some really great value 5-gallon trees for us. And they're regularly priced at $89 to $99, and they're not little teeny ones. I mean, they're 6 to 7 footers. Yeah, they're good. They're good looking trees. A lot of different varieties, and they are 30% off. And so it puts them back down into the price of what we would sell our bare root stuff for.
Oh, okay.
And so basically it's bare root pricing on shade trees and flowering trees that we just got in. And they're specially tagged in our nursery, so they've got orange tags on there that say 30% off. And so if you need some really nice, inexpensive shade and flowering trees, we've got a great sale going on right now with the bare root sale for those shade and flowering trees. So great time to plant those. I mean, from now until December is a great time to plant. But if you come in now, you're going to get the best selection on these value trees that are going to be 30% off. So at $89.99, 30% off, it's going to be $59. It's going to be $59. Okay. So it's a great price for some really, really nice shade and flowering trees at Anderson's right now.
All right. Well, we'll talk more about some of the things that you're going to find out here at the Home and Garden Show that Anderson Seed and Garden brought to the show coming up in just a minute. But we have Lori who's joining us on the line from College Ward. And Lori, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
We sure can. Go ahead.
Lori. Hey, great. My husband just sprayed our fruit trees with the dormant spray, and we put some garden foss in there as well.
Great.
And
he's such a good husband.
I know.
He'd like to spray our fruit tree. Maybe you want to farm out to that work.
It's been a race because everything's coming out so quickly, and holy cow. Yeah. But anyway, I have a question about the different products you might be able to use for fire blight. I have F-Stop at home, AgriFoss, ProFoss, I think, and Copper Soap. Can they all be used for fire blight?
The F-Stop does not work on fire blight, even though it works on a lot of other diseases. In fact, it's one of my favorite fungicides, but it doesn't work on fire blight. And so the basic copper in that copper soap is very, very effective on fire blight that has wintered over from last year, or you can use it while your trees are in bloom. And what we recommend is it's usually cool, wet weather that causes fire blight to spread like crazy. So it's usually right after a rainstorm is when you want to spray if your trees are in bloom to prevent them from getting infected, because they get infected right through the blossoms. So the fire blight enters in through the blossoms, gets moved around by the bees, and that bacteria gets into your tree and starts to kill tissue. Preventatively, the AgriFoss or the Garden Foss is going to be your best bet to prevent it from happening in the first place, or to curatively try and treat it to stop it from spreading through your tree. So you have two really great options there for fire blight prevention and curative properties as well too.
Okay, so and I don't have it written down on the bottle for some reason. How much Agrifos do you use per gallon?
If you want to do the trunk treatment, which is the easiest way to do it, and I would do that like right now, you use 1 part water to 1 part Agrifos. So if you used 4 ounces of Agrifos, you'd mix it with 4 ounces of water, add some bark penetrant or a spreader sticker to it to get it to penetrate in through the bark, and then treat the trunk of the tree from the ground up about 4 to 5 feet all the way around. So you can put it in a quart trigger sprayer, and then just spray the trunk with it so it coats the whole trunk, and it'll absorb it in through the bark and run it through the circulatory system of the tree. But it's 1 part water to 1 part garden phos or Agrifos, and then a tablespoon or 2 of your bark penetrant or a spreader sticker.
Okay. All right.
And that will work for 3 months. So it'll last for 3 months in the tree. So it'll get you through the entire bloom period and through the first part of the summer if you do that right now. And if you've had fire blight, it'll stop it in its tracks and keep it from spreading further. So this is a great way to really get fire blight under control if you've been dealing with it for a couple of years.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Thank you. My next question is, I think I've got those little bugs in my raspberries because I have holes in the middle of the cane.
Okay.
And what can I spray on that, or what can I do for that?
There's actually a new drench that has come out that you can drench the canes with, so you don't even have to spray the canes, and you do it right after the blossoms drop off, and you mix it up in water. I think it's 2 ounces in a gallon of water, and it's a fruit tree. It's called Fruit Tree Drench. It's from Monterey, and you mix that up in water, and then you water your canes with it, and it'll pick it up through the root system. And the only limitation you've got on it is you've got to make sure you get it on a week before you harvest the berries. So if you do it right after the blossoms drop off, you're like 3 weeks, 4 weeks before you're harvesting berries. So it's very, very effective on the cane borer. It will kill them inside the canes. It will kill them before they really get into canes and do any damage. And so it'll also work on crown borer, which are in the soil around the root system. And so it'll work on both those kinds of borers, and it actually works on white flies and aphids and a lot of other insects that are sucking sap out of the plants as well too. So it's a Monterey product. It's a fruit called Fruit Tree Drench, and very, very easy to do and to apply.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you.
You are welcome. You have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for calling in.
You too. Thank you.
All right.
And we do have phone lines open at 753-KVNU. That's 753-5868 if you have a question, comment for Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. And, we were talking about fire blight. For people who may not know, what are some of the early symptoms? What can we be looking for? I know a lot of times what we'll look for is when those leaves start to curl. That's always a good indication that there may be a problem.
Fire blight really presents itself as if somebody has burnt the leaves. So especially on pears and even a little bit on apples, it will look like it has turned black, like somebody held a flame to it. And the tissue on the branches will shrivel up, and they'll pleat. And so they'll look like they're shriveled pruny, like when you get out of the bathtub and your fingers are all pruny, you've been in too long. That's exactly what the tissue looks like. And then parts of the tree that have been infected will it's called shepherd's crooking. So it'll bend over like a shepherd's crook, and so it will kind of arch over and point the opposite direction of the way the branch is going. So there's some telltale signs to look for. It seems to be easier to diagnose on pears than it is on apples, because the pears really do turn black. Really turn black. They're really susceptible to it. there's a lot of varieties of apples and pears that are now coming out that are fire blight resistant, so you don't have to worry about it as much. But some of the older varieties, once they get fire blight, you basically have to prune all the damaged parts out because it's inside the tree, it's in the circulatory system, and it just continues to kill the branches back until it gets to the trunk, and then it'll do some damage to the trunk. Then it's time for a new tree. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Garden Foss or the AgriFoss, just an outstanding product for prevention, but also for curing it when it has been infected as well too. So we've been able to save a lot of trees, not all, but we've been able to save a lot of trees with that product, and it really does help on other bacterial diseases systemically. So it works on bacterial bud blight, which gets into stone fruits. It works on blossom bud blast, which gets into stone fruits also. So apricots, peaches, plums, cherries, nectarines, it will work on those also. And blossom bud blight looks like when the trees leaf out, like the blossoms come out, everything looks great. It looks beautiful. And then the leaves start to come out, the blossoms fall off, and then all of a sudden the tree starts to die back. And it will just, like, whole sections will just die in a very short amount of time. And with fire blight, it starts out on the tips and it gradually works its way through. But with blossom bud blight, you'll see just like a whole branch die almost overnight. And so if it gets into your trees, it's one you want to try and preventatively apply each year to prevent it from getting infected again. Because I've had whole plum trees just like in one season, just
wipe them out.
Just wipes them out. Yeah, just wipes them out completely. Yeah. So good thing to watch for. Since we don't have a whole lot of time left, now's a great time to fertilize.
Yes.
And so we've got a lot of people coming up in the show yesterday, and they're like, is it okay to fertilize? It's kind of dry. It's like, this time of year, even though we're getting 70-degree temperatures, you can apply your humate, you can apply your fertilizer, and just wait for the next rainstorm. You don't need to put your sprinklers on. That fertilizer is not going to burn the grass. If your grass were really, really wet and we put it on and then we got like an 80 or a 90-degree temperature day, then I'd be concerned about it.
But we don't got to worry about it. I mean, if you're down in St. George, maybe.
Yeah. But where the grass is dry, you can apply both of those products and not have any problem with it. And then if it rains next week, great. That's like perfect. Let Mother Nature water that in. And since we do have kind of a drier winter, even though we've had a lot of water, like our water content is really, really high.
Lucky for us, we're about 80.
Yeah, it's lucky we don't have a lot of snowpack.
Yeah.
But if you look back from like our water year starts in October until now, we're actually a couple inches of water ahead of what we usually get because November and December were so wet. And then January was kind of dry. And then February was really, really wet. But we got a lot of rain. It was we've got all this water and rain, so we don't have a lot of snow up in the mountains, but we did get a lot of water. But if you want to really, really conserve on water, and you're concerned about maybe some communities in the valley, they're going to be rationing water, now's the time to start using Back to Green or Hydrotane because they will make your water go farther and it will absorb and hold the moisture a lot better in your turf. And so these products last 60 to 90 days. So 2 applications for the entire summer can cut your water usage by 30 to 50%. So instead of watering, like, say, Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays, you could water just twice a week. Or if you're already watering twice a week, you could cut that back to almost once a week and still have your lawn look as good as it would if you were watering like the full amount. And so both those products, the Back to Green and the Hydrotane, will give you 60 to 90 days of added water absorption and retention up to 30 to 50%. So we're talking a huge savings in water for a very small investment, and it will keep your lawn looking great with almost half as much water as you're usually applying. Half as much water. If everybody saves half as much water on their lawn, we're going to save literally millions of gallons of water this year.
And what I've loved about what you mentioned with the Hydrotane is that you don't sacrifice the lush greenness of your lawn.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing what a difference it makes. but it keeps your lawn looking great. Turf, when it's healthy, it really like helps with runoff. It helps with dust. It creates oxygen. It cools our environment. I mean, we need to cool our environment down. Yeah. And so turf is actually really great for doing that. And by using a product like the Back to Green or the Hydrotain, you'll be able to decrease your water by a minimum of 30% up to 50% and still see the same results.
All right, we're coming to you live from the Home and Garden Show at the Eccles Ice Arena. As Mark and I were joking, they turned the power on about 30 minutes ago, and you can tell they just turned the music on.
And the music's on, yes.
So,
yes.
Hey, and coming back to talk about grass, now's also a great time, and just so happens that I'm sitting by a couple bags of them.
Yes, right by the grass.
This is a great time if you're looking to reseed.
Yes.
You have a lot of new mixes of grass seed that, if you've never thought about redoing your lawn,
right,
this might be a great option.
This is the time to do it. So in the next month and a half, this is a great time to overseed and introduce some new varieties of grass. I was talking to someone yesterday that was really interested in changing their turf to a new drought-tolerant grass. And I was like, when did you plant your grass? Well, we've been in our house for 30 years, and so we planted it 30 years ago. And I'm like, okay, how old is your truck?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I got a new one last year. I was like, well, if you kept your truck that you bought 30 years ago and you switched to a new truck, what's the difference? He's like, well, it's got a backup camera and it's got analog brakes and it's got all these comforts. And it's like, think about your lawn the same way.
Yeah.
I love my old truck, but my new truck is like amazing comparatively speaking. It gets better gas mileage. It's cleaner, everything. Well, grass technology has kept up with vehicle technology. And so if your grass is 30 or 40 years old, you're driving a 40-year-old truck, and you're expecting to get the same results, out of your 40-year-old truck as you are out of your brand new one. And it's not going to work that way. Some of these new varieties, they use less water, they green up earlier, they're resistant to insects, they're resistant to diseases. You just have so much less maintenance that you have to put into it. But you're going to save, again, 30% of your water, up to half of your water usage, and the lawn's going to stay just as green and it's just as soft and just as beautiful without insecticides, without fungicides, less water. It greens up earlier. It's just so many great advantages to changing your grass out. And we're talking anywhere between 2 to 5 cents a square foot to change your grass out.
So huge.
It is so inexpensive to do. But if you're just overseeding, it's even less expensive. We're just going to introduce some of those newer grasses into your old turf. And over time, they're going to take over your older turf and become your new lawn that way as well, too. So there's a couple different ways to do it, but it's very inexpensive and really, really easy to do. We can teach you how to do it.
Yeah, and you can come down to the Home and Garden Show today, and they've got several different samples that they can show you. Seeds here, also Bigfoot samples. We didn't even get a chance to talk about it, but if someone's looking,
it's your new favorite product, isn't it?
I love it. I went out and treated our fruit trees with it last weekend. So,
they're going to grow like crazy this year.
It's an amazing product, and so come on down to the Home and Garden Show. Talk to Mark Anderson and Anderson Seed and Garden and all of the other great vendors. Again, the doors open at 9:00. It will continue until 6. There's plenty of parking. You can drive right off Main Street, just turn at Heritage Dodge and come on back in. Join us for the Home and Garden Show, and join us next week for another edition of the Garden Guide here on KVNU.
Following the big stories, News Talk KVNU. Logan, proud to be locally owned and operated by the Cass Valley Media Group.
I'm Brian Clark.